Turns out that the #1 source for Otherside Alpha before the project even launched was this NFT project called 10KTF. Now in my previous video, we explored with two OGs of that community, how it all began and what it means. But in this video, we're gonna talk about how everything ties into Otherside. And there's a whole lot to talk about. I mean, the very first trip on the Otherside that ever happened included a quest where we had to find Wagmi-San's glasses.
Someone broke their glasses at NFT NYC.
That's the main character on 10KTF. So if you want to learn more about that connection and all the other ways 10KTF ties into the Otherside by Yuga Labs, this video is for you. Let's dive right in. What are the connections between 10KTF and the Otherside? Let me just state what I know and maybe you can expand on that. In the first trip, which is kind of the genesis trip of the entire project, right? The first alpha playtest, whatever you might want to call it. The first riddle that happened, you had to find what Wagmi-San's
Somebody
glasses.
lost their glasses at NFT NYC.
You know it by heart. Exactly. That's what Curtis, the host in the first trip, kind of told all the participants. And then you had to run around and you had a little treasure hunt and you needed to find the glasses. And me personally, not being filled in on the lore behind 10KTF, I had no idea what he was talking about. Even on stream, I'm just like running around. I'm like, with glasses. So what does that mean? And maybe let's move on from there, what other connections there are, because there were some ApeCoin airdrops and more speculations.
We got to back up like a little bit because this actually all started from the first like leak of the Otherside. Whenever you saw like the first still images, the pitch deck was leaked and you had all the different parents inside like the submarine, right?
Yes.
So immediately we tie in all the different IP, right? So we're looking at the Bored Ape, we're looking at the Mutant Ape, we're looking at World of Women, we're looking at Cool Cats, we're looking at all these, the Cryptodes, we're looking at all these projects that are featured in the submarine, and we're like, Otherside, like 10KTF. Like immediately the alignment with the stars, it's like there's no question in my mind, like right there from the beginning of time before the trailers even released, I'm like 10KTF's a part of the Otherside, like what's going on here? And it made so much sense right there, you know, not just because the parent project PFPs being featured in that, but you have the tie of Gaio Siri. Gaio Siri is a founder of 10KTF, which is immediately tied directly to Yuga Labs, right? But beyond that, go to the Nelk Boys Full Send podcast and you'll hear them talking to the founders of the Bored Ape Yacht Club about how Beeple introduced Gaio Siri, and that is what really skyrocketed their project into like success, right? So you have Beeple and Gaio Siri, two founders of 10KTF, immediately tied to Yuga Labs.
Yeah.
And then you bridge the gap between Yuga Labs and World of Women, because Gaio Siri, it also represents World of Women, which is also connected to World of Women Galaxy, who's also a parent project of 10KTF again, right? And then how do you tie in nouns and cryptodes? Well, Grimplin is actually the artist of cryptodes, which is CCO.
Yes.
But then you also have him as a founder of the Nouns DAO, right? Yes. So you have this cross tie, and he's also an OG right there within the 10KTF community, right there in the beginning, like in the early stages.
From day one,
right?
All right, interesting.
Day one, A1, right? So right there when that first release happens, it's like, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. But 4 days previous to that trailer being released, you also have Meebits and CryptoPunks that Yuga Labs acquires the IP rights to them 4 days before they release that trailer. That's no coincidence, because you need to have IP rights in order to actually release that video by Yuga Labs. Now, from that point forward, what other use case has Yuga Labs really utilized that IP? They haven't, other than 10KTF. Weeks later, CryptoPunks and Meebits are added as parents to 10KTF, where we can craft our items onto it.
It truly is a small space, and the fact that we're so early allows for a situation where kind of all the big projects, at least the ones that give commercial rights, are somehow intertwined. And then they were brought together under the umbrella of 10KTF already. And then once Otherside came out with the first trailer and the submarine showed up for the first time, we had all the various projects that were involved in 10KTF appear in one spot yet again. So at that point, you made the connection, there's some kind of involvement. But then the story continues, and you have an event at NFT NYC, right? And what
Yes.
transpired there? Because that seems to be key to understand the treasure hunt in the first trip on the other side.
So what happened at NFT NYC was where actually so Wagmi-san's driving into the city and he rolls his car. And when he rolls his car, he goes into like a comatose state where then it shows him dreaming of a mech beating the kaiju, right? And so that's where that happens. But he needs to rest up to be able to recover and be able to actually defeat the kaiju. And so his glasses get, broken and thrown off. And so Battletown, which is a platform that we go to every single week to engage and actually gamify the project a little bit further. We load in our avatars and you have a PFP, and then you can actually have these different slots. The different slots have different items. So you have the hand slot, you have the torso slot, you have the the helmet slot, the head slot. You have these different slots that you load in these different items for, and you get a score based on that, and that then contributes to your XP that you basically earn. Well, one of those missions, it happened simultaneous to the other side first trip. And what had happened is we load in our avatars to a mission called Other Glasses. Okay. During this mission, nobody knows what that means, but then it ends right in the middle of the time on that Saturday of the first trip during the scavenger hunt. At the time that Curtis says, somebody lost their glasses at NFT NYC when we need your help to find them. Everybody's running around the map, and all the OGs, 1-9, shout out, buddy, ends up finding the glasses because he knows exactly what to look for. He's looking for red frame glasses of Wagmi-san. He finds them on a barrel next to a palm tree. And at that same time that he finds it and the scavenger hunt ends, the mission on Battletown ends, and everybody gets a badge that participated in Other Glasses.
Wow.
And they're a pair of Wagmi-San's glasses.
Okay, perfect. So maybe let me just add a little bit of information. What you were saying at first with the story of Wagmi-san coming to town and having the dream about beating the kaiju, that is the storytelling element of the project that they do on Twitter every first day, right? Were those tweets, or was that a trailer, or where was the story told?
So at NFT NYC, there was a massive big event where we actually went through Wagmi-san's portal into the other, like into New Tokyo.
Yeah.
Okay. So they had like nitrogen, like gas, like set up to where when they open this portal door, like it shoots out this smoke, and you basically like traverse from in real life New York City into New Tokyo.
Nice.
And they have this fully built out like city inside with the definitely not legal goods, truck, positioned perfectly. Nice. They're handing out pizza. They have this bar, and there's a Coda bottle behind the bar. Okay. Another connection to the other side.
Oh, that's where you saw it for. Okay.
The first time we saw the Coda bottle was when we rebuilt Wagmi-san's shop, actually. And that was like a month before, and it was just hidden in the back. And it's like, we go into the Bored Ape Yacht Club Discord, and we're like, dude, told you, like 10KTF is connected to, Bored Ape Yacht Club. And all the moderators in the Bored Ape Yacht Club Discord are like, it's not true. They're ripping off the IP. Like, you guys, can't do that. It's illegal, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, yeah, you don't know anything.
No, perfect. I like it. You were the detectives in there who were on the case.
At NFT NYC, though, at that event, the like main thing was the finale was this trailer that they released. And if you weren't there at NFT NYC, at the same time that they released and played the trailer for us at the event, it also got posted on Twitter. And this was in June, right? So then we get this tweet in June, and you have this pop up, and we're able to watch Wagmi-san, like, play that out, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. Okay, so that was the real life event you were describing. That was the event in New York. All right, so it was Wagmi-San's glasses, and then our OG from the community found them on a barrel next to a palm tree in the first trip, and that was the first like clear connection between the two, where there was like no doubt, because Yuga
No doubt.
themselves communicated it. Every other time, it was communication from the side of 10KTF in forms of the quota bottle or others, but it never came from Yuga. And but by this being the first event, it was the clear confirmation, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, all right. So that's one thing. Then let me ask you about a second tie that I heard about, and that is the bonsai tree in the 10KTF lore or somewhere, right? What are the ties to the other side there? Because I've seen some threads, but maybe you can catch me up.
I'll let A-Bomb field this one. Go for it.
Okay.
I mean, you're the bonsai master, but I'll try my like.
You have
essentially
bonsai
in
masters in the Discord. I like it.
He's the bonsai master. No, that's not his name, but he's the
It's a
guy
good
that
title.
Dilly's the guy that came up with sort of looking at the the bonsai tree, and a couple other community members that were seeing the comparison to the shop, the newly built shop, the same one that we saw the Coda bottle in for the first time. It has a giant essentially like bonsai looking tree, and that's what it looks like. So when we saw the other side, there some of their trailers drop, and there's that bonsai tree that's like glowing and being filled with that blue glow.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see sort of the potential connection, not only the similarity that it's a bonsai tree, but just even the aesthetic of what it looks like it's curved in the same way. So there's so many different elements of how I think these storylines play a part in each other and sort of cause and effect. We know that, the Coda got sucked into that black hole or whatever. And we also know for a fact that Wagmi-San dabbles in portals. So it would be interesting to see, again, a cause and effect storyline taking place where Wagmi-San is playing with some physics over here. Something happens, and then that opens a tear in space and time where this Coda is at and causes it to get pulled into his dimension.
All right. Just to be clear, we're in full speculatory territory here, right?
Yes.
All right. Good to know. But that's interesting. That's the stuff I enjoy.
Well, the one thing that also is interesting is in the very first IRL party in NFT LA that 10KTF held, there's a map of New Tokyo on a wall, and the Bored Ape Yacht Club Lodge was there. It was part, and you, if you go online, it was on the map, and it was a part of it. So, and what's interesting and why I say the black hole and Wagmi-San maybe being connected, or even if he didn't do it, but it's in the same universe, is that Curtis was at the lodge when he found the bottle.
Yeah.
So if that lodge is connected to New Tokyo, which we saw in a photo IRL, that would mean technically Curtis was hanging out in New Tokyo when he caught that.
Well, and what's really fascinating is right now we're actually seeing kind of the build out of the world, right? From a more macro perspective. Okay. Because you actually have now, if you go to battle.town and you look at the website, you'll actually see New Tokyo floating above an ethereal river. And then to the right-hand side, you see a bonsai tree with little eyes, right? Now, in a normal landscape, bonsai trees are extremely small, right? And I would need to correct myself. It's bonsai or something like that.
Very good.
But
Very good.
The way that it's like not a normal item that you'd see in a landscape, but in the second Otherside trailer, you see that token with the blue, flowing energy, like basically transcending to the branches of the tree and to like what looks like orbs, right?
Yeah.
And so what I have speculated on is that, this tree, it has some sort of energy that provides energy to the other side. And the reason that I'm even like speculating on that is at the NFT NYC event, we saw Beeple, we saw Figgy, we saw a lot of the team members wearing these sweaters that said New Tokyo Electric Company on the back of them. We have never heard, seen, actually had any connection to a New Tokyo Electric Company throughout the storyline ever. And it doesn't,
interesting one.
They haven't talked about it at all. But that sweater is like, what does that mean? So making that connection and tying that all together, it's like, okay, well, there's this Coda bottle. Now, if you think about the timeline of events, you have this Coda who is going up to this, this room full of these floating orbs of energy that have this blue-like sensation that's very similar to the tree being filled with, right? And he's filling the Coda bottle with this energy. Well, it's almost like he wasn't supposed to be doing that. And then the one portal opens up to try and suck the bottle through, and he starts to run in opposite direction. And then another portal opens up, right? Well, in order to save the bottle, he decides to risk his life to go and jump for the bottle and dive through that portal, and ends up in the other side where Curtis ends up fishing it up and chugging the bottle.
Yes,
Right. And the
perfect
very,
summary.
fuck it nature of Bored Ape Yacht Club. Right.
Hell yeah.
So
He's
whenever
bored.
he
What else
does
is
that,
what is he gonna do?
at
He's
that
bored.
point, yeah, exactly.
Might as
At
well.
that point in time, then you see him, taken off by the coda. And it's very interesting because 10KTF does this a lot, where they'll put something in the storyline where people can speculate, right? And
Mm.
it's like at the first trailer where they cut it off and they brought it up, it's like, oh, the coda likes him. Like the coda is like taking him on a journey. Like this is really cool. Then when you get the little bit more background of the story,
Yeah.
you're like, that coda is pissed that he drank his coda juice. Like
Yeah.
he is taking him and he's throwing him down on the ground, making him run on the lava, and like, picking him back up. And it's like a journey that's like, he's mad
Yeah.
that he even did that. Like, how could you drink my stuff?
Yeah.
Right. So when you like piece all that stuff together and you bundle it up, and then you have all the different cross references, in the first trailer from NFT NYC with Wagmi-San driving down the road into New Tokyo, he crosses the bridge into New Tokyo. Where's he coming from, first of all? And secondly, he passes by this gas station. The gas station, it says just pay gas.
Okay.
And right in the top right corner, you see a floating piece of land. Okay. Now that floating piece of land, now, yes, you can make a lot of different references and observations about a lot of different games that have this kind of like landscape of what it looks like. But in the first preview to the other side, Grimecraft actually retweeted this, and you can go back and watch that first trailer that was ever released. It's of Curtis waving on a bridge. He turns around and starts running towards, like, through another bridge with flags. And in the background looks like nothing other than New Tokyo. You have the same shapes, the same looks, everything.
Wait
And
a
it's
minute.
like,
Wait a minute.
that
I
was
have
the
to-
first,
which trailer are we talking about there? Bridge? Curtis
the
waving?
first video
The
that was
first ga-
ever released.
It was a game demo. It was essentially the demo of the gameplay as with just Curtis in there. And
I know what you're talking
Grimecraft-
about. Where he goes
Yeah.
into the swamp and the clubhouse in the middle in the end. Yeah.
No.
Correct.
I
Yeah,
remember.
no,
I
that's
remember the
it.
gameplay.
That
That's
is
the
the-
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's two clips that are like basically spliced
Oh,
together. The first one
yes.
is him running over the bridge,
Yes,
and then the
yes,
second
yes.
one is him going to the clubhouse.
Yeah, no,
correct.
I know. And he uses the jump pad and yeah, I remember.
Yep, nailed it.
The other thing, other than the floating land similarity, is I want to get into the actual data side of this, which is how these are connected. If you look at what 10KTF has been given an opportunity to do, which is passively earn ApeCoin, which through
a big one.
staking a tool, or as well being able to just do Battletown missions and earn ApeCoin from those. This is something that you would suspect, like we were able to essentially stake an item, an NFT, to earn ApeCoin before any apes were able to do that. This is again something where I don't think that the team, unless they're doing some amazing work with lawyers on the back end, just to be like, oh yeah, let's go through this loophole.
Yeah.
I think they're having some pretty in-depth conversations with the Yuga founders and saying, yo, we want to use this and we want to do X, Y, and Z with it. And this is our game plan. And it's either yes or no. They said yes. So it might not be as intimate as we think, but at the end of the day, them being given that access to do that before any other project is also something to kind of give your
I
a second
think
look at.
I would name that the officially the first big collab between Otherside
Oh, yeah.
and another project. Like there's no doubt, and that's why it's so interesting to me. So maybe let's talk about the ApeCoin a little more, because
Yeah,
you guys got ApeCoin airdrop before anybody inside the
Yeah,
other
buddy.
side, right?
I mean, well, so what's really fascinating is it was actually called NTD. Okay, New Tokyo dollar is what we had been accumulating. I accumulated, I think it was like 122,000, NTD or something like. Oh no, it was 22,228 NTD is what I had accumulated, And this was like early days, like
Okay.
super early days, right? I don't even know if A-Bomb got that allocation. But
I got 3,037, so not as whale-like as you. I'm more of like a guppy, just swimming along.
Fair.
But
Still
what
in the
that
pond.
converted to is an 85-to-1 conversion. So for every 85 NTD you had, you'd get one ape, right? But what was fascinating is when was the first ape allocation for apes, for Bored Apes and Mutant Apes? Do you know?
Good question. So I would have to backtrack. If we had the Otherside mint in April, then the airdrop
Would have
the
been right
airdrop
there,
actually
right?
came out just when my channel got banned for a period of 2 weeks. I still don't know
Those
why. I just got in the
bastards.
yeah. I was doing like a live stream during the ApeCoin airdrop, and then that must have been
It
back
had to have been
during
April.
the bull run still. So I think it was. I would have to look it up, but I believe
I
it
think
was
it was
I
February.
think it
earlier than
was
April.
because what they've done, and 10KTF does this as well, is they pair up like an ape drop with something that you're able to spend your ape allocation on, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that the ape drop was at the same time that the land deeds were being sold, right?
Yeah.
But my point is March 16th, 10KTF actually posted Boss Toads X, and then sale is coming.
Boston.
Okay.
Okay.
Now there's
March
this
16th.
banner in front of Wagmi-San store, and I'll give you the picture, but it's Wagmi-San standing in front of it, and it's right after they just like ransacked his shop again. And the sale is coming actually converts very easily because the L looks like a P to ape is coming. Now this
So
is on March 16th.
yeah, March
before the
17th,
ape.
I had my live stream. So I believe that was a day after the stream, after the airdrop.
Correct.
So it was
The day before
perfectly
is when
timed.
that was exactly. So ape is coming happens the day before the ape allocation for all the apes.
All right.
Right now, that tie-in, everybody's like, you're losing your mind. Like, there's no way that is what that's saying. Like, you're an idiot. Like, I can't believe you're even making that connection. Bored Ape Yacht Club is not connected to 10KTF. Well, fast forward to I think it was 6 or 4 months after that event actually happened.
Yeah.
We get that video release where combat crates are going to be dropped, and it says powered by NTD, gets crossed out, and then it says powered by ape, and they are like, yep, you're getting ape coin. And so now that connection is completely full circled, and we've been a part of that ecosystem ever since that day.
All right. Now it makes a lot more sense. I see.
And here's another thing. 4 days before that event where it said powered by NTD crossed out powered by ape, Gucci is the first partner to accept ApeCoin in stores, which is
Okay.
no other partner in Web3 than with 10KTF.
Yeah, they worked together before. Perfect. So it's the first like true collab. All right. Can you tell me a little bit about the airdrop allocation without me researching it? So how did it work? Did the Genesis holders get more, or how was it structured?
So Genesis holders, we actually had like the ape allocation. So it was a snapshot period, and they actually said like, these are the dates that we're going to actually do a snapshot. And if you hold for this period of time, you're going to get a higher NTD allocation,
Okay.
right? So you wanted to be holding for that pattern. And they gave us forewarning, and it was through like the images on the Twitter that it actually like showed us exactly what we needed to hold for and blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, we ended up getting the NTD allocation, and we got to see our score, but we had no idea what that was for months. It was just like, I got 22,000 NTD. I can't wait for this coin to launch. Right.
Yeah.
But we had no idea. Right.
Yeah.
So that's how that first allocation happened. And then what had happened is once they launched Battletown, and we started submitting avatars into these different missions, we'd get snapshots, we'd get, maybe a material drop for participating in a mission, or we'd get, cloth or whatever, like different things as a reward. Well, all along this journey, you're collecting what they call badges for story points. So each mission that you partake in, you'll actually be rewarded with a badge that's very similar to like a POAP. It has no real value. You can't like exchange it or take it out of your wallet. It's just a thing that's to show a proof of attendance,
All right.
right? And by doing that and participating in these actual badges, well, one, you actually were rewarded if you actually collected, I think it was 8 badges before the combat crate drop, because you'd get a extra combat crate. They just rewarded you for participation. Along the time of Battletown, though, collecting all these badges, we're also getting a allocation for ape. And each mission that we've gone on, I think it's said that they've given out 1,600 ape a week. And they basically just made it to where they collect it, accumulate it, and then at a certain point, you're able to claim that. And the claim website is 10kfriends.org. And we're able to go in there, connect our wallet, and see how much allocation that we have. And it pairs the two. It has the tool staking metric, which gives us the ape coin, and then also gives us the ape coin for Battletown participation.
All right. So there's these missions that you can participate in Battletown that gave you ape coin, and then you had the period that you had to hold it for, and there was a snapshot taken. Interesting. All right. So that's how people got the ape airdrop through the 10K TF ecosystem. Very, very interesting indeed. All right. So to my knowledge, that covers most of the connect or all the connections that are out there. Are we missing something? Was there another official one except of the ape coin and the mission in the other side?
I'll give you some whatever you want. I think a
there
lot
a
of what
lot?
I'm going to get into is a lot of speculation. So I want
No,
to
so I know there's
preface that.
speculation, but is there like some things that are announced and confirmed, and just like the ApeCoin airdrop happened, there's no speculation there? Does that
Yeah, I
cover
think
all the
all
things that
as
happened?
far as factual, the only other thing that we didn't really like highlight heavily is the obviously the Coda bottle. The Coda bottle has been referenced twice. It's been in the shop multiple times on Twitter, and then also on like 10ktf.com, right there on his desk or behind in the rafters. That was the first time that we saw it. And then the second time is actually at NFT NYC. There was a real Kodo bottle at the event right behind the bar. Everybody wanted to take shots of it. They said that we couldn't, but it was there, right?
Gotta
So
love it.
that is obviously a direct tie-in that is factual, and there's no speculation there. It's
Okay,
just
yes.
that stuff was there.
Perfect. Amazing. Okay, so that runs out the factual stuff and the history and the tie-ins there. Then, I mean, I'm sure we could talk for hours here about speculations, but let me just ask you this, each one of you. What is your favorite piece of speculation on the connection between Otherside and 10KTF? Is there like one story or one thing you really believe in and think that is probably or most definitely going to happen?
You mind
Hey,
if I
Bomb, get
jump
into
on this one?
yeah, get in there.
So one of the things we didn't hit on is Herman Nurala, the improbable tech. I know Dilly's just about to blow the lid off this. So Nurala actually tweeted, and we know that that's what the other side is being built on, is Improbable's tech. So
Absolutely.
the tweet that was very interesting, and this is a fact, was that Herman Nurala tweeted and said, with Improbable's tech and 10KTF's tech, you would be able to build and design assets, 10,000 or however many, that have random rarity assigned to it and would obey the same laws of physics. I definitely said a lot more than he did, but that is the sentiment in his tweet, is that with his company and this company, which is 10KTF, we can build digital assets that you can transcend into different universes or metaverses, and they follow the same laws of physics. That is bonkers to me.
That's
because
interoperability at its peak right there.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
for
So-
gamers.
Yeah, so that is a core principle of the M square tech that underlies the other side, right? Like they only accept partners that accept this fully interoperable and open ethos, where it's going to be one of many metaverses where everything works together. And then I guess what he was saying from that tweet is that, the 10KTF, the storytelling, the crafting, and all those mechanics, they're going to be, if you take those principles and put them inside the other side, that's a good one, then you're going to get just something more. And then that's exactly how it's going to build out. So interesting. So he acknowledged the project too. And
He gave it a
and
nod.
And
Yeah.
that's my biggest speculation that I love, is like thinking like we thought like 10KTF was here, in the sense like we'll be designing and we'll be like the builders of these items and whatnot for the other side, when really 10KTF is up here, because they're positioning themselves in such a way that it doesn't matter if it's the other side, if it's Roblox, if it's Sandbox, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because we could take this tech and bring it over there, and these items essentially, and build out their ecosystem just as easily as the other side's ecosystem. So
Yeah.
I'm just excited to use my flamethrower in the frozen side of the other side, and just like burning,
I mean,
glaciers and
count me
stuff
in,
like
man.
that. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
What one big thing too, like with this interoperability idea and concept, is like obviously within the other side, we know that there's resources, right? And how you're going to actually collect the resources off your land, that's obviously a lot of speculation. But what's really fascinating is the different artifacts that are also within lands, right? You have the different rarity scoring for pickaxes and hammers and different things like that as
Yeah.
well, right? So these tools will most likely be utilized to actually collect resources off your land. But from a game mechanic perspective, there's nobody that's actually been front running how the other side game mechanics would work. However, what 10KTF has been developing is blockchain technology that utilizes crafting in a different capacity, where you're taking multiple items, burning them to create a new item on the blockchain. Right now, Yuga Labs hasn't actually done anything in that regard within their tech. So it would make a lot of sense that you have 10KTF that's actually front running a lot of the game mechanics that will be
Okay.
utilized within the other side.
Okay.
And what's go ahead.
Interesting. So you're saying the crafting mechanisms that are being tested inside 10KTF bring some smart contract innovations to the table, in terms of not just burning one item to get a second one, but burning multiple to get one, which is the
Yeah,
basic RPG mechanic to craft, right? You use
Yep.
multiple herbs to like get your alchemy potion. You need multiple pieces of iron to craft your armor or your sword. It's not just like one iron bar for one sword.
correct.
Okay.
Now, with that regard, here's something that's really fascinating that almost ties this together is we press the founding members of the team constantly in Discord or in real life. We try to get as little alpha as possible as we can out of these guys. Well, Beeple in Discord, he says that everybody's asking him like, hey, are we connected to the other side? Hey, what metaverse is this? Blah, 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 right? Well, he comes out and he says, well, if you want to think of, Wagmi-san as the person who kisses every person that enters into a metaverse on the forehead, that is how you could picture him. Now, what that means, and I'll send you that Discord message, but the big thing about that is that means that Wagmi-san is an integral part of actually this ecosystem, right? And the way I envision it is, imagine that, we have this marketplace where you're going to be able to take your resources and your items and different things like that, and you'll be able to craft them into different items that are more valuable or usable within your land on this platform called the other side, right? And within that ecosystem and the partnerships that 10KTF has actually garnished, you have, Gucci, you have Puma, you have all these different collaborations with these Web2 apparel brands. Well, imagine bringing and merging that gap. If you were able to get 5 different resources, combine them and get a Gucci sweater that gives you a ERC 1155 token, as well as the physical hoodie in real life,
Yeah.
through that platform, Wagmi-san's the, center of that marketplace, right? And he could be that digital craftsman that's helping for people to create these different items, and imagine that being
Interesting.
fed back to the community.
Interesting. So,
right?
so are you speculating that Wagmi-san is gonna have like his own shop set up in there, or are you speculating that the Agora, which is gonna be the official other side marketplace, is gonna be actually ran by Wagmi-san? Which one of the two is it?
I think that with the way that the land is like kind of set up right now, I would actually feel more comfortable saying that Wagmi-san will have his own shop in New Tokyo. That's a part of the other side. I think you're going to have multiple lands that people are able to travel within the other side. And we're going to obviously get that information as we go on these trips, right? And if you actually, another connection is the Dream, right? On the Dream, it talks about this arcade machine, an impossible arcade machine, which, as we know, being part of 10KTF, we have Possible Productions, which is founded by Figgy, who also created the Louis the Game, which is the Louis Vuitton game, right? And we also have an arcade machine in the right-hand corner of Wagmi-San's shop with an 893 on it. Now, we don't know what that machine does. We don't have any information about it, but an impossible arcade machine, it would make sense that Possible Productions could have possibly created a game. That's our first taste of interoperability and seeing Otherside used as a platform as opposed to a game where you're able to actually put your game within the other side.
Interesting. So it could also be the intersection between external games and the other side.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Interesting. So I mean, that's huge. All right, guys, I think we covered so much, honestly.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole ecosystem. Let me ask you one more thing before we round it out here, and that is, I just want, so both of you have different backgrounds, but both of you like to speculate and think about things that we don't know for sure. I think one of the biggest questions surrounding the other side metaverse is the transportation system. And we know nothing about it, right? There's no information, but just based off your knowledge of maybe games you've played in the past, or maybe some thoughts you had around that, have you thought about how it could work and what would make sense? One thing before we get started, and I'll give my opinion too, is just thinking about also the commercial aspect of it. And because essentially some people were like, oh no, you're gonna need a chaos land to even transport, but I don't think that ever makes sense. Like, I think that extreme of the spectrum makes no sense whatsoever, having thought about it, because there's going to be a lot of collaborations, just like with 10KTF, and there's going to be these different lands that companies build out, and you're going to want to open them up. Just like in the Central Land, if you build a cool gallery, I mean, they're just happy for you to come in there and go there and check it out, right? So I think it's going to be more on the open side of the spectrum. But did you have any thoughts on that? And is it going to be teleportation, or what are your ideas?
I would venture a guess, being, you know, again, a heavy video game player, that to really get everyone to understand the scale of the platform, they would have them not be able to teleport at first. In the beginning, in phase one, you'd have to sort of walk or go from
See?
jump pad,
That's good.
so you would learn everything that's around you. Because if not, if I can just teleport to one spot, I may always miss this
Wow.
little nugget of gold here. So like, and that's
Very
from
smart.
being a gamer, right? Red Dead Redemption, if I just teleport everywhere, I'm missing some of these herbs or these other things or these missions I could go on. So I believe in the beginning they're going to slowly make it so people actually have to venture out and find out what is around them, just in the walking or jumping around. But from there, I feel like certain resources will either be harvested or added to the ecosystem that will allow you to do as such. Like, it reminds me almost of Fortnite, where like when you drop in, you can have a different, like, you know, thing to get you further if you want, something like that. Like you may have a hot air weather balloon that you've built that can, like, you know, only go so far and then it needs to drop. You could have all these different forms of transportation, but I believe how you get those is by crafting those as well, because that's true gamified stuff, in my opinion.
Interesting.
I think mine is a little different.
If I may, just two things there. One is, so maybe let's just look at what we have seen. One is the Decentraland lobby, right? There's kind of like, you get spawned into this middle area with different portals, and that's where you hop in. But maybe on the other side, it would make more sense to start on your plot of land, or maybe you start with an interface where you pick, do you want to go to the Bored Ape Clubhouse, or do you want to go to your plot of land? So I think that makes a lot of sense in the long term, but I just wanted to hop back to what you said in the short term, because that never occurred to me, but it's exactly right. I think the entire obelisk, it's going to be like a tutorial where you get used to the controls and how it works, and their teleportation would be nothing but confusing. And I'll just round this idea out by referencing my favorite game of all time. It's this single-player RPG from more than 20 years ago. It's developed by like a German developer, and it was only popular in like Germany and Poland, and not much of a US thing. But it's called Gothic, and it's very hardcore. And if there's like no map HUD on the screen, like you have to buy a map at the vendor. There's no teleportation. There's no tutorial. You just hop into the game. and you have to talk to the characters and figure out how the world works. And if you just run into the forest, you're immediately gonna die because there's monsters in there that are way stronger. So you learn, okay, I can't run into the forest. And it's all just intuitive. It's a little more hardcore than what we see these days with the hand holding and everything. But it was like one of the best gaming experiences I ever had. And exactly, they didn't have teleportation at first, unless you spend like 15 hours in the game. And then like one of the mages was like, oh, we have teleportation magic here. You can always come back to me in a fast manner. But at that point, you were deep inside of the game and you knew the map kind of by heart already. And that's why you could wake me up in the middle of night, even now, 20 years later, and I could recite you where the old camp is in reference to the new camp and where the forest is and where like the dangerous creatures are, because you had to experience it first. So I think that's
Well,
very
also,
smart, and that's most definitely the way it's gonna they should do it.
also with like Diablo, think about Diablo, like you weren't able to teleport to this like teleportation pad until you discovered it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's all about discovery, I
yeah,
believe, and that's how you are going to get people to understand the game mechanics. Like you're saying, I can't run into the forest.
yeah.
How is somebody going to know that this is a hazardous area unless they experience that? That's just part of
Exactly.
life.
Yeah,
I think
you have to
I
uncover the fog of war first.
I
Yeah,
think one thing
yeah.
that's really interesting too, like from a business standpoint, you want to look at things from a macro like scale. And I think the other side will be one of the largest onboarding experiences that Web3 has ever had. And I think it's very interesting that you hear a lot of people with other side land. They're like, oh, well, I have this resource, so I'm the only one that's going to be able to harvest it. The way I believe that the other side will actually work is that obviously like getting closer to the swamp and like going out from that, it's like you have these different levels and tiers of land, but you also have all these different resources and materials that can be harvested off the different lands.
Yeah,
And I believe that it'll be, you could be somebody that doesn't own land and still participate in the other side eventually, and you'll be able to actually harvest resources off of anyone's land, but you'll
hmm,
have to traverse to different terrains, biomes within the other side in order to harvest those resources.
yeah,
So it's going to be a lot of traveling around. But I think that as far as portaling and traveling through different regions, I think that if you have money or maybe you have a specific artifact or coda juice or something, you'll be able to actually pay to actually traverse a lot quicker, right? But a free to
Hmm.
play consumer, they would actually have to traverse the landscape no matter what in order to get to the land that they need to get to, right?
hmm,
So if you have multiple plots of land, well, what I'm thinking is that people will harvest the resource off your land. They'll get maybe 40% and the owner of the land gets 60%, right? And so it's a way for the owner to still benefit heavily because they can earn passive resources,
yeah,
while somebody has to work for it if they're actually doing the
yeah,
gamified side of things. And as a participant, you're still going to want to go out and play the game and still do things that way as well.
mm,
And it creates that nice bridge of everything, but
interesting.
utilizing it as a platform eventually, right? You want to be able to onboard as many people from a free to use standpoint, as opposed to just having people that are within the ecosystem.
Absolutely,
What
absolutely.
fun is a game that has 20,000, 30,000 people in it? You want to be able to actually expand that and extrapolate it to more. And we saw that right off the gate with Web3 communities. The metaverse that will be successful is the one that attracts all the strongest communities. And that's why you saw right out of the gate, you have the cool cats, you have World of Women,
Yeah,
you have all these different
all the
parents
strongest
that are
communities.
right
A lot of
there,
them.
which is a part of 10KTF that's all bridged and being put into the other side because you want to attract all of the people, not just the
Yeah,
people that can afford 100,000 board ape or $40,000 mutant ape, whatever it is. You want to be able to attract everyone, right? And so the only way to
yes,
do that is by creating a platform that incorporates everybody.
nice. That's why I'm so bullish on it, because right out of the gate they were like, this is going to be available in Chrome. It's going to be available on mobile and on desktop. And obviously, if they're going to host these experiences, there's going to be a free to play model to it. They also outlined there's going to be a VR option, but it's just an option. I personally, I'm really into the idea of like going through an app in the App Store or like Google Chrome on your phone and participating. I like the
Yeah.
most bullish idea for me is building out my clubhouse and then building unique experiences there and maybe hosting streams there that where you can like interact with them, and I could share them with friends just via phone. I send them a link, like I send them a link to my Dropbox file today, and they could just hop in. That's the idea that I'm really bullish on, because I see that happening. I feel like it's so close. If you take if you take the 10KTF interactive action and live streaming, gaming live streamers, and you put that all together, and you curate little experiences and ways to participate.
Here's
It's
another
right there.
thing that's going to blow your mind. So there's in Battletown's terms and conditions, you can actually read about Wagmi-San's Arena. Okay. And within Wagmi-San's Arena, it talks about that like gamified aspect with audience around, and you can pay to play and get rewards from that. Right. Now, within the other side, we know that you're going to have these, these software development kits that allow people to build out games within the ecosystem, right? And so, how do those look? Well, imagine that you actually have your favorite streamer and you're able to go to their plot of land, and rather than an audience that you can't hear, touch, or feel within the game of Twitch, right? You just know you have 30,000 fans that are typing behind a desktop.
So abstract.
Well, now you could actually have raving, screaming fans watching you right there live, and you can actually like hear the roar of your audience.
A football stadium watching a gamer, huh?
Yeah. Or take this podcast, for example, right? You put this up and we actually met up in the other side, and we're able to actually have a live audience watch us talk about this topic right there within the platform. That's like the landscape of what's actually going to attract people and drive people to that medium. Whereas the metaverses right now, Decentraland, like Sandbox, I'm not going there. Like, what am I going to do? Like,
it's the limits. It's like you can host like 50 people, and then there's instances like that just right there. Like that just right there is the cap. Like, how are you gonna? It gets interesting once you, in my opinion, these experiences like live streaming get interesting once you have the stadium full of people. When it comes to bombastic events, like it's different if you have a like deep conversations like we do right now, but it get like the live, like let's say like the big League of Legends live streamers, if they had their 20,000 viewers in a stadium like thing, 3D space, and you had proximity voice chat, and then there's a vote and everybody
Michael Figge already did that for League. I was just frothing at the tips here to tell you this. You should definitely look up what Michael Figge did with League of Legends in Tokyo with a skeleton crew production company. It's unbelievable.
It's the League of Legends Worlds stage.
Thank you. That's that video, and it's them doing sort of what we're talking about a year or so ago. So these individuals have not only the capabilities, but also the understanding of how to make all this happen to at least some degree that we've already seen. So
you need to send me a link to that. I can't find it right now. That sounds incredible.
I got you.
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, you probably saw the dragon, the AI dragon, in a live audience. Did you see that? That was the Possible Productions.
Yes,
they put that on, right? And then there's a stage that they have where like literally they have these people come out, and there's like fire or an ash like coming past them, and the live audience can see it, but also from like the online audience, they're watching this like live happen. Like,
like when the players come out, and then there's the like the visual effects around them. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So exactly that, but just more accessible and more casual. And then throw a little bit of AI video generators in there, and you can just like run big productions that a few years. It's funny because like first you democratize the camera systems, and you kind of like had the Hollywood cameras come down to a price point of like $1,000 at this point with comparable quality. And then next you're gonna democratize the whole ecosystem behind it, and the rails that it runs on, and like some AI can like generate the backgrounds, and then a metaverse can host your experience with 20,000 people, and you can do things that a few years ago would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to even attempt. So
and what's really fascinating to me is like like all these other metaverses that are out there right now, there's no purpose. Like, you don't really have a reason to go in. Like Steve Aoki hosts a concert, and it's like 15 people like as a crypto voxel like dancing, and it's like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, so, you think about the way that the graphics are, and you think about improbable and the interoperability of different things. Like yeah, they're probably going to host events like Fortnite did with Travis Scott and Ariana Grande and different people like that. And you'll have those events that people can go to at the Dome, but you're also going to have like people that just want to go in and play the game and like, collect resources, or, do a podcast or do different things. It allows an opportunity for people to actually spend time there, as opposed to going there for an event that like is just a one-stop thing that's, off the beaten path. Right. Like, you want a lot of things that attract an audience, that they can do things, they can earn things, they can build a business, they can do all these different things. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, spot on. Exactly. Well, I mean, what a great talk this was. I think it's about time to wrap it up, because otherwise, some viewers here, I'm sure there's steam coming out of their ears at this point. That's a lot to take in, and what a time to be alive. And these topics are so interesting to me. I mean, I'm sure we could go on forever on like different theories and different speculations on the different aspects of it. But let me just ask you this one last thing. If the people want to hear more about you and what you do, where can they find you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, if you like to speculate, you like to really like get into these topics, that's what our channel is all about. You can go to Speculation Alley on YouTube. We actually post a new video every single Wednesday, and we talk and discuss different projects within, Web3, but also predominantly about 10KTF, because we have all the knowledge and like the background to really dive into specific topics that correlate to Wagmi-San. So check that channel out. And, if you have some speculation that you want to come on our show, we'd love to host you as well. But
If there's anything
Abom, you have
Otherside
anything to
related,
add?
I'm game. Anytime,
Oh,
any day.
we've done a couple videos on the other side, actually. Our new Tokyo video, new Tokyo Electric, that one has some tie-ins to the other side. And then we also did a other side video where we speculate that we're getting land. Could be a little bit of a hot take, and really piss off some other deed owners.
We like to stir the pot, but
yeah.
Yeah, man, I would say just check out that. And if you guys want, I don't know if you guys are Twitter sleuths or not, but like I said, my name's Abom. I hold a space every single Thursday. It's under 10KTFM. That's the Twitter handle. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, just sort of get the vibe of the community. I mean, that's usually what gets a lot of people in first, is just sort of understanding that we're not just a bunch of weird people.
Yeah. No,
I think that's what's
Yep.
I was just going to say, I think that's one of the most fascinating things about 10KTF is they don't really do like any public outings. Like, they don't have founders on Twitter Spaces. They never have until they invited A-Bomb on with and it was a Crypto Carl space, which was a community member. It wasn't even like people like starting up a space.
Okay.
So they have organic engagement only projected by community, which is insane.
That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Great to talk to you guys. Honestly, it was my pleasure. I learned a lot, and I hope there were some nuggets of wisdom that some viewers could take away here. All the links are in the description below, and feel free to follow them. And yeah, see you around.
Awesome. See ya.
Thank you.